I know who killed Fabio.
So I'm free to go, sir?
Quite the opposite. I think it was you, Mr. Pinchetti.
That is not possible.
Allow me to explain. You wanted to be rid of your dear uncle. I myself barely know him and already find him intolerable. You've worked for him for years. Santos, do this. Santos, do that. He doesn't pay you. He doesn't recognize your work. He doesn't see you as family. But you thought that heritage might be yours. Instead, all you'll ever receive is mustache wax. It is painful to witness such a situation. I cannot imagine how it must be for you. So you decided to frame your uncle. Put the blame for Fabio's murder on him. That way, the heritage is yours, and you are free of it.
Half of what you say is true. I'm in pain. I have had a hard time with my uncle, but I'm not a murderer. I can't even stand up to my uncle. How could I have killed Fabio? He did nothing to me.
He was a source of your troubles too, though. Especially since Mr. Manchios treated him like a... The blood on your shoe tells me that you were with Fabio. You stabbed him with the dagger while he was still alive. You drew a sigil on him. There was a great deal of blood. You needed to remove it. Blood is almost like glue. It sticks to everything, dries quickly, and is quite visible. But you know how to handle stains. You are Kurt Manchios' major domo. However, despite your best efforts, you missed a spot.
It doesn't make sense, sir. I was never there. I am convinced there's a reasonable explanation.
You staged this decadent ritual so you would not be suspected. After a short fight, you knocked Fabio unconscious. You locked the door and dragged the body to the altar. You wanted to set up someone acquainted with this masquerade.
I don't have the nerve to kill or stage a murder. I can't even leave my uncle's house.
Your hate for Mr. Manchios was so strong you killed an innocent person. Your uncle did that to you. I could have understood that you wanted to see him gone. No one could tolerate that much humiliation. But you killed Fabio. You staged the ritual, tried to frame your uncle. But you killed Fabio.
No, wait. I know it seems like I did it, but I didn't.
Oh, enough. Save your prayers for the after.
I am innocent.
I'd weep if I had any tears left at all.
I wish everything were different.
Santos Pinchetti is our man, the coward nephew, filled with bitterness, turned to murder. I have all the evidence for you.
That worm had the guts to kill. I'm impressed.
Impressed? He killed an innocent man who did him no harm whatsoever, just to charge his uncle.
Well, I have a word for that. Loser.
A strong noose is what he should get, I believe.
Agreed. That's an ending that would get me a fine promotion.
Your uncle is a cruel man. He used everyone around him to his advantage. I don't believe he even truly loved Fabio. You knew very little love, support, or care from him. You lost your mind, Santos. And innocent people were hurt. I can't allow you to go free, but I can try to help you. I can provide my findings to the police. Decadence and perversity might poison anyone around.
I don't know what to say. I can't breathe. I need to go outside.
Unfortunately, you can't.
I'll remember this horror forever.
Constable, Santos Pinchetti killed Fabio. The evidence is clear.
Is that so? A man like him has actually grown a pair.
He intended to set up his uncle for the inheritance. The old man had humiliated him for years in every possible way.
Oh, what a bunch of degenerates.
Well, as for Mr. Pinchetti, the evidence tells us that he was wronged and pushed to commit a crime to be rid of his uncle. I suggest that you help in easing his sentence.
That's a sad story, all right. But at least it's good enough for my promotion.
Matista, you killed Fabio during the ritual.
What? No! I could never.
Fabio was a rising star. Cordona already knew of him, and you were not as popular. Your duo was coming to an end. He would have left you, and you were afraid of that. Since you believe in your gift, you thought you could revive him after death. And that time, he would have stayed with you.
That is not true. I was afraid of him leaving me, but I would never have hurt him.
You were there when Fabio was killed. He fought for his life and inflicted those bruises on your body, but you knocked him out eventually.
I was with the guests all the time. Manchios ordered me.
You knocked out Fabio with a bottle, you locked the door and placed him on the altar. You cast spells and pushed a blade between his ribs. The blood from his wound was used to draw symbols across his body and the room itself. You wanted to use your gift to resurrect him, but he failed to wake up. So you cleaned yourself up and left the room, realizing the full scale of what you'd done.
That's just wrong. I didn't do it. You didn't see what happened.
Then tell me, what did happen?
I don't know. I wasn't there. You weren't either.
I can see that life hasn't been kind to you. Since childhood, you have been used and abused. The guests at the Manchios mansion are not that different. And even if you think you are in control, such a life takes a heavy toll regardless. The only good thing you had in your life was Fabio. You were so frightened of losing him that you killed him. I believe your only chance for a normal life is to receive medical help. Psychiatrists will help you.
Others have always decided what my life should be. And you're no different, Mr. Holmes.
That is your only option, Matista. I'm afraid you can't choose.
I'd weep if I had any tears left at all.
I wish everything were different.
It was Matista, Fabio's friend. All the evidence points to her. It is sadly the result of her traumatic past. She requires medical help. There can be no good in executing a person who has such an illness.
She doesn't look sick to me.
That's why the professionals should handle it.
I suppose you're right. It's still good enough for my promotion.
Matista, you are a product of violence. You absorbed it in your childhood and have lived with it ever since. You know nothing of love, morality, or care. You are beyond any help. No judge would hesitate to hang you for what you did.
If that's so, then I'm ready to leave my body and be finally free. It's you who will have to live with your disgraceful judgment. You are wrong. I did nothing.
I've cracked the case. It was Matista. All the evidence points to her.
That peculiar girl.
Not peculiar. A dangerous occultist. At some point, she would strike a dagger through the heart of her lover.
Diabolical witch. I'll make sure we call for a priest to cleanse the interrogation room.
You might retain the priest for her hanging.
Order burning. To hell with her. My promotion is secured now, at least.
My friends visit the place.
The murder of Fabio did not have a ritual purpose, Mr. Manchios. It was staged by a man who wished to distract the investigation.
That might be true. That poor girl Matista wouldn't dare to kill the only man who cared for her. So, Santos.
Mr. Pinchetti snatched at the chance to solve his problems.
Ungrateful little scum. Will he be executed?
But what for? He informed the police as to the crime, that was all. He couldn't stage the ritual, but he found the body, I believe.
I can't believe it. Why did Werner do it?
Mr. Vogel. He had no reason, and he won't be a scapegoat as you plan. You put Fabio's letter in his pocket when he was intoxicated, didn't you?
You can't be serious.
We can very often deduce someone's life by their shoes or their fingernails. You are a meticulous person, but this murder was fairly traumatic and filthy. After you stabbed Fabio, you were covered in blood. You panicked and neglected to rinse the soap from under your fingernails. The devil is in the details, Mr. Manchios.
Nonsense. I missed it simply because of the busy schedule of the party.
Of course, a staged murder was certainly not planned. You're at the twilight of your life. You have no partner, you have no children. You had feelings, however, for one man. That was Fabio. You loved him. That is, you wished to own him with money and gifts. But he was also a free mind, was he not? He turned his back on you. Quite unjust. Love, so cruel and painful, and Fabio, with his words and deeds, made you feel the more wretched. So you killed him.
You must surely perceive that my sensitive nature wouldn't allow me to hurt anyone.
You staged the murder as a satanic ritual. It was easy for you, since you were the one who wrote the scenarios for the parties. It was your way of avoiding suspicion. A respectable man in his 60s,
Early 60s.
who hosts the cream of Cordona's society, cannot possibly be a murderer. But the guests who behave like animals in his mansion, of course, one of them could have killed Fabio.
I did oversee a few of the rituals, but I did not stage Fabio's death.
Fabio played with your feelings. That was painful to realize. You spent so much time and effort to be with Fabio, but he didn't respond in the way that you would have liked. You wanted to be loved, but Fabio shattered your dreams. In the smoking lounge, he teased and mocked you. He wanted you to suffer by offering himself to others. The deception was unbearable. You were passionate, and so you struck him. Once you understood your mistake, it was too late. You were afraid, so you staged the ritual. With such a story, you might be sentenced to a few years. It might clean your conscience, and soon the case will be forgotten.
No. No.
This is my decision. I'll talk to Constable Oswald to see what I can do.
I wish everything were different.
I'd weep if I had any tears left at all.
I'll remember this horror forever.
There's no fool like an old fool. Kurt Manchios did it. A young boy played with the heart of an old man. The latter couldn't handle it. The evidence I obtained clearly shows that the quarrel was not intended to end badly. It was an accident.
Showing pity towards your own kind, Holmes. Whatever.
All I'm saying is that prison won't take much away from an old and crushed man.
Fine. A big name like that will still give me a promotion.
The young performer played with your emotions. That was painful to realize. You spent so much time and effort to be with Fabio, but he didn't respond in the way you would have liked. You wanted to be loved. But Fabio shattered your dreams. In the smoking lounge, he teased and mocked you. He wanted you to suffer by offering himself to others. The deception was unbearable. You struck him, and then you staged the ritual. You planted the letter in Vogel's pocket and attempted to set up Matista.
What poppycock? Sherlock, stop this game now.
There is no stop word, Mr. Manchios. Relax and enjoy it. I'll pass the remainder of this case to Constable Oswald. He'll know what to do with you.
I can't believe you dared to accuse me.
I have a name for you. Kurt Manchios.
Is that so? The Master of the Sabbath?
The man himself. Mr. Manchios couldn't stand to lose control over his lover. A deadly revenge that deserves a proper sentence. I have all the evidence to charge him.
A degenerate and a murderer. I'll make a name thanks to that for sure.